Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch, so I hope everyone's doing well. This video is going to be a bit out of the ordinary. There's been a lot of things that are frustrating about not only SSOU metagame, but also just dealing with the tier, dealing with the players of the tier, etc. And this is going to be a bit of a rant video because you know what? Not every video is going to be all smiles and sunshine, and you're going to learn a lot from this video. You're going to learn a lot about my perspective and what's wrong, what's right, etc. But also, I felt like this would be something y'all want to hear. So we're going to be discussing my issues with some aspects of the metagame, aspects of the player base, etc. So first off, there's like 4 concepts in the metagame that really are grinding my gears right now. There's Shifu, Churum, Volcarona, and just the concept of hazard controls. And the last one, we'll get to there when we get there. Don't worry about that. It's worth your listen, but don't worry about that. We'll get there. So first off, Urshifu is fucking ridiculous right now. I mean, I'm sorry, but like what? Am I supposed to use Clefable on every single team? I guess there are like 5 million reasons to do that, so we might as well top off the list with a reason that if you don't use it, you're just losing to Wicked Blow. It's just freaking ridiculous. Like, okay, Wicked Blow resists, Tyranitar dies close combat. Okay, Mandibuzz, close combat. Every single Wicked Blow resistance, not a fairy type, is getting screwed over by close combat. And to make matters worse, Weezing Galar is at best a mediocre Pokemon in the metagame. And maybe it's the best checker counter to Urshifu, but even that, like, Iron Head, it's like, okay, screw off. So I need Clefable plus maybe an Amoonguss or Toxic just to be safe against this Pokemon. Like, what the hell? It's way too much. I mean, I'm sorry, but there's some ways where you get creative in team building, like in checking and counter things. Like, you know, running timely resist and playing around, that's great, but with Urshifu, even if you're, like, sending your, you know, Tyranitar or Hydreigon into weak it's taking 40%, like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And it's gonna come in more than 1 or 2 times, especially if it's paired with a slow Volt Switch or U-turn. Like, it takes advantage of defensive staples like Excadrill and Blissey and Barrow. Like, it's like there's nothing I can do. It's just no matter where you turn, you're screwed. So I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. It's a pain. I mean, like you could run Clefable or Weezing. It's just so limited. Like, it's not even that it's like outright like super duper broken, which I do think it is broken. But it's just the fact that it's super restrictive is the problem, and I hate that so much. That dynamic alone, it ruins so much for me. So yeah, I hate that. And I mean, it's just like, okay, you can run Togekiss, you can run Clefable, like, it's like none of these Pokemon actually like hardcore counter it even. It's like one Iron Head to the face, you're like, you're screwed. It's at best like a virtual like lopsided guessing game based on the position you're in the game, and I hate that. And yes, there are like ways to be safe against your Shifu, but it basically requires you running a very limited selection of Pokemon, and I don't love that. I don't love how like limited it makes team building. I think it's broken, and I want it gone. And that's just my honest thoughts on it. Is it like amazingly like super pressing? No, because the way we build is completely around Urshifu right now. We're all running Clef plus resist. It's like it's annoying, and I hate it. And screw that. So yeah, that's one thing on the line. Next up, there's Kyurem. Kyurem's a Pokemon that maybe it's under your radar, but think about it, like what is switching into Ice Beam plus Freeze Dry? It's like, okay, Steel type, but no, Corviknight can't do it because it's taking neutral damage from Ice. Skarmory definitely can't do it. It's got no special bulk either. You know, even going down the list, it's like, okay, extra, no, it's dying to a single Ice Beam. Okay, go down the list. Okay, what else? Ferrothorn, nope, take 2 Kyurem from Ice Beam. Scizor, okay, I guess, but like, and you're using Scizor, especially defensive Scizor is so garbage. Offensive Scizor is not checking you. So it's like, okay, wait, but like, what else? Like, okay, I could run Rotom Heat plus Clefable, I guess, but then one wrong turn or a couple Ice Beams to Rotom Heat's face, and you're screwed. Okay, maybe there's other things. Like, no, there's Blissey, there's Tyranitar, and there's Aegislash. That's really, you gotta want one of these Pokemon on your team, or you're just risking yourself being super weak to Spectrum, and then that's not even it either. If you're like, oh, Spectrum, that's enough. Like, no, there's also the subset, and it's like annoying. So you can actually beat Blissey. You can chip down Tyranitar with Ice Spear easily, and you can sub up on Aegislash, scout what it's doing. It's just annoying. And like, I know it's not broken per se, but like, it's probably one of the top 3 hardest Pokemon to prepare for right now. And I find myself tossing out so many teams like, I don't have Freeze Dry checks, I don't have, Specs Ice Beam checks. It's so damn hard to deal with, and I hate that. I hate that so much. So yeah, that's another thing to it. But that's not even it. That's not all there is to it. That's not all she wrote either. There's also Volcarona, which it's just like the versatility of the Quiver Dance sets is just ridiculous. Like right now we got the Quiver Dance Safeguard set, which like, oh, you bring your Blissey, I'm like, oh, I get Toxic and I get Thunder Wave it easy, Seismic Toss it down from there. No, Safeguard plus Risk completely destroys that. And not to mention, if you're not running Haze and your Toxic specs are like relying on stats like Toxic on like, a Mandibuzz or a Powdon, like, no, you completely invalidate it. It runs a lot of physical poke too, so you could live like 40 Earthquakes and other physical attacks. It checks really well. It's annoying. It's so damn hard to deal with. Okay, Fine. How about the offensive stats? Like, sure, Blissey deals with them, but then like all of a sudden you bug buzz your Tyrannodon. Like, okay, long term it's gonna be hard. Or I psychic the Pex, the Como, the Rotom Heat even, it's hard. Giga Drain for the guy, so I'm like, you gotta guess around it. It's really annoying. You sometimes gotta dedicate, 2 slots to checking Volcarona. It's like, ugh. The only thing that's broken, Fringe, not very pressing because of the way we team build around it, but it's so damn annoying. Like, I'm trying, build around different things, try different ideas, and it's like it's not working out, and I hate this. I hate it so much. So that's another thing. But then, on top of all that, it's like, okay, but like on top of covering all these Pokemon, then you're like restricted to specific forms of hazard controls. You're like all of a sudden like, great, I have checks and counters, but if they take 2 rounds of spikes or a round of stealth rock, it's like, okay, all of a sudden I'm out of luck anyway. They're not checking what I need them to. Like you're realizing, oh, Corviknight's a great one, and it beats almost all, but then like, oh, Magnezone. If you Magnezone plus knockoff, then Shed Shell, it's like, ugh. So I can't use Corviknight at every team because they're going to prepare for that. They're going to use Magnezone, or they're going to use things that abuse it, Trick Fable, whatever it might be. So it's like, okay, there's still Mandibuzz, but Mandibuzz loses to everything. Loses to Clef with Stealth, loses to Stealth plus Toxic Pokemon, like Hippowdon, loses to Rhyperior, of course. It loses to Ferrothorn with Leech plus Body Press. It loses to Toxic Excadrill. It loses to this, that, Toxic Skarmory. Like, what are you going to do? How do you spin Mandibuzz? It's like, ugh. So that's annoying. And then on top of all of that, like Drill is not a good spinner either. It loses to Powdon, loses to Rhyperior, loses to Ferrothorn. It gets knocked off and then eventually loses to Clef long term even. It's like, what does it even beat? Like, hazard control right now it's so crappy. It's just inconsistent. Besides Corviknight, and Corviknight's like the easiest thing to manipulate right now. So it's like, crap. If you Trick and Magnezone, it's like, I hate that. I mean, you see Clefable abusing the crap out of them. I'm like, okay. So we already got like this quad of really annoying things to deal with in team building. That makes it a pain in the ass, very limited. Like you're only going to be using a specific pool of strategies unless you want to risk being weak to something. Like, okay, I can accept that. OU's been like that for a couple generations now. Just how it is when you've got so many different variables to account for. But then on top of that, when you have people trying to fix the metagame, there are the people that are trying to interfere and get. We're like, here, let me throw something out here. Like this recent Cinderace test. You guys might think that Tox specs or Urshifu are more pressing, which I happen to agree Urshifu is more pressing than Cinderace, but then you have to realize that's not actually possible. Think of it like this. If you guys agree with the Cinderace ban, right? So Cinderace got banned a month ago by a council vote. The council is unanimous. If you guys say, okay, we can't retest Cinderace till DLC 2 now, then that's just a precedent. The precedent that the council, months into the metagame, can ban whatever they want. And seeing as a lot of you guys are already upset with the council, don't agree with the council, if you're agreeing to that, then you're just giving us much more unchecked power to do as we wish. Which, never been done in Spagan history. The only quick bans that have, stayed quick bans have been things that are ridiculous concepts like Moody that are uncompetitive, or things like within the first week of the metagame. When you're like, oh crap, this is really broken, like Cheer 'em Black, or like Marshadow last generation, for example. So obviously, not great. So then you're like, okay. So therefore, once you ban something like Cinderace, quick ban it, a month in the metagame, you have to retest it before that metagame phase ends. Otherwise, you're the president, it's okay to do that. So we had to retest Cinderace right after OLT ended once the metagame got stable. Otherwise, we're sitting the president that we're able to just, do whatever the fuck we want whenever we want to. And that's ridiculous in my eyes. But enabling that unchecked power from any council is not great. But especially when everything's so controversial this generation, enabling that power now is even worse. And I have people left and right telling me, oh, why would you just Cinderace over this and that and other thing? And first off, it's not only my decision, but second off, it's the only decision. If you guys have any gripes with the council because of this, imagine how much more gripes you'd have if one of the Pokemon you thought would be okay gets click banned without you getting the chance to vote or discuss something. At the end of the day, you can't possibly argue otherwise. It just doesn't make sense. The thing you're fighting against would suddenly become more powerful. And as someone who likes to communicate a ton with you guys, the community, and someone who's also part of the council, it's just I don't think anyone's thinking this through. But okay, let's say hypothetically that we don't ban Cinderace then. And we just handle Magearna, Magearna is gone, and then we don't do the quick ban of Cinderace. OLT comes to you can't have a suspect during OLT. It's a logistical impossibility because the purpose of a suspect ladder, the ladder during suspect, is to test if something's broken. The purpose of OLT is to gain as much points as quickly as possible. Those two completely contradict each other, and you have people laddering up for OLT, so it wouldn't be possible. You can't do that. I've checked about it, I've asked so many times, I've tried to, find a joint plan where you could have OLT and a suspect lab at the same time, you can combine the accounts even, but no, it's gotten shut down because it's just not possible. And the council has no say over when OLT is either. That's a tournament matter. So you're like, okay, what do you expect the council to do here? you want to just sit on Cinderace, stay even more passive, and then you're going to complain that Cinderace is in the tier for even longer when we had unanimous support to ban it? No, so we actually went up and we did the proactive thing, which you guys have been requesting for months and months and months, and we banned it. If we didn't, then guess what? Cinderace would be having a regular suspect right now, and it would have been in the metagame for all of OLT and the last month or so following that. And it's just like, why leave something unhealthy in the metagame when you cannot? So we did the right thing and we banned it, and now we're having a retest, and everyone's like, oh my god, why are you having a retest? We have more pressing things. I'm like, yeah, Urshifu definitely is more pressing, but you can't possibly say you're okay with the president, that the council can just ban whatever they want at any point in time when you don't even agree with the council to begin with. Like, if you guys have gripes with the council, you can't possibly be okay with giving it unchecked power. So it's like, all of a sudden, me as a councilman who wants to communicate with you guys, I'm like stretched thin, because like, you guys keep like trying to like, attack us and like tear our heads off, like, oh no, this is wrong and that is wrong. But like, here I am, like, bruh, like, we're just doing what we said we'd do when we banned Cinderace. And in my personal opinion, I'm not speaking on behalf of the whole council, by the way, it's just my personal opinion, like, we're doing it so that you guys have the power to decide what happens with the Pokemon metagame. And this generation, besides Clefable at the end of DLC 1, which turned out to not really be broken in DLC, like DLC 1 metagame, we've really suspected everything that's been like complained about, like Dracovish. Once it got, Joyce Band picked up usage, we suspected it. I mean, on top of that, look at the pre-home metagame. We were about to suspect a trio, but then home happened, and right after home settled, we suspected a trio, and then we retested Melmetal. We deal with that. Dynamax, we deal with as soon as slight leadership. Like, I'm sorry, but there could be gripes about Council last generation. I wish we suspected one or two more things, but this generation, I mean, it's just unreasonable. You got to keep in mind, we're dealing with DLCs making things pop up left and right, out of nowhere. We're on strict time limits. We got OLT interfering with it, and like, you guys are asking for us to set a precedent that would basically give us all the more power, just because you wanted us to potentially rush a suspect on Urshifu or Toxapex. Which, by the way, I think Urshifu should be suspected. I think it should be suspected probably after the Cinderace test. That's my personal opinion. I can't say everyone else agrees on council, but personally I agree with that. But having it right now, when Urshifu was pretty calm throughout all of the OLT metagame because people were spamming Hyper Offense, which overwhelmed it, or Stall, which packed like 2 counters to it. And now all of a sudden Urshifu is becoming a problem. And I agree, it is becoming a problem. It is a problem, but like, reacting so quickly, not giving the metagame a chance to settle, especially when we have something we need to handle that's pressing in Cinderace, because we need to do it before DLC 2, it's just bad tiering. I'm sorry, but it is. And seeing all the backlash, especially, I made a video on the Cinderace retest, right? And I said in the video, if you have issues with the timing of the test, feel free to PM me, but I don't want to hear it in the comments. The comments are more for people to, discuss their thoughts on the test. And then you have like a dozen people talking in the comments, like shit talking, like, bruh, I'm like just presenting information about a test. I'm not here for your controversial opinions. So now all of a sudden I have to play defense because I try and respond to all the comments and engage everyone because I care about my viewers. But it's like, I'm stuck. I'm in the middle of like a rock and a hard place. It's like, come on, guys. So, yeah, you know what? On top of being annoyed with all of these Pokemon, I'm a little annoyed with some of you guys who are like, pointing fingers at everything, like not realizing the ramifications of the thing you're proposing. Like, if you guys are going to propose a tiering change, you have to realize the consequences. Every action has a reaction. Every action comes with a set of positive and negative consequences. And as council, it's our job to weigh that out. And we did that, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job this generation. And meanwhile, people left and right are like, oh no, this couldn't work. But I mean, think about it. Think about the precedent that would set. And just realize, like, if we don't test Cinderace till DLC 2, then all of a sudden, it could be 3 months to a metagame, we could unanimously agree something broken. Like, what's stopping us from just banning it and not retesting it? And that's not fair at all to the people. You guys should have the ability to vote. It undermines the entire suspect process. And then all of a sudden, like, what's the point of having a suspect when you have the council deciding things? It's like, so no, what I'm here for in having this retest, saying that the people need the power to decide what belongs and what doesn't belong in the tier. The people deserve that power to vote. And personally, we're starting surveys to reach out to high ladder players, where, I'm communicating with people in threads, on Discord, via YouTube, as much as possible, just so I could get everyone's input and I could hear from y'all. But if you guys are going to ask for something that undermines that initiative that I'm taking to, hear from everyone and get everyone's input, then like, what's the point? What's the point of doing this channel? What's the point of making these videos? What's the point, of talking to anyone? Why can't the accounts just be like a group chat of people just circle jerking each other? And spoiler alert, nobody wants that. So therefore, the Cinderace test is in everyone's best interest. And I'm just like, come on, guys. So yeah, I'm frustrated about that, and it's been eating away at me. It's like, I naturally, as someone who's trying to serve the people of the tier, I want everyone to be happy with the metagame, but it's clear they aren't. But the reasoning, it just doesn't like check out. Like, if you put 2 and 2 together, you don't get 4 with that. So think it through, guys. So this is a little rant. I'm definitely, fed up with her Shifu in the metagame. Kyurem is such a pain in the ass to prepare for. Volcarona's doing Volcarona things. I wish we had more reliable hazard control. And come on, guys. Think your stuff through. So yeah, this is a little Finch rant on SSOU right now. I'm definitely fed up with stuff. Let me know what y'all think, and have a great day. Okay, peace.